today. So one of the things that is really a great outcome of having this one rental at a time YouTube channel is you get to learn about other markets. And as the channel grows, I'm getting followings in Europe, in Asia, and really all over the world. And today, just actually in the last 5 minutes, I just finished up with a young man in Finland. His name was Henrik, and he reached out because he wanted to talk about rent control. I've put out a couple of videos here recently about it, and he wanted to kind of share his experience. Right, Europe, different countries have different sort of treatment of housing and rentals, and really treatment of landlords. This young man, owns a rental in Estonia, in Tallinn, Estonia. Beautiful little city, been there once before. And he owns a couple apartments in Finland. And what is interesting to me is the discussion we had about Sweden. And really wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of talk in this current crisis and a lot of push for potentially national rent control, forgiveness of rent, all these things that kind of feel good in a crisis. But let's talk about it, right? There's, lots of things have been tried around tenant landlord relationships, and I think the powers that be would do themselves a favor instead of kind of creating these things in a box, kind of thinking like their ideas are unique, that maybe they should go look at other markets. And again, I want to appreciate Henrik for reaching out. His his willingness to sort of just talk about it, the plus and the minus was awesome. And Henrik, if you're watching or if you ever see this, thank you very much. The one that I really want to talk about again is Sweden. And Sweden has put out for some time now that basically housing is a right. Basically, you can't make money as a landlord in basically, right? Being a landlord, earning a profit on housing is not okay. That's essentially what is written into the governing body of Sweden. And he gave some pretty excellent examples, and I think we should just talk about them because the free market, or the gray market, as he calls it, will eventually win out. And the downside is huge, but still it may feel good to some. So let's talk about it. So in Sweden, they've instituted what we would call here rent caps. So let's just use an example. And this is the example Henrik and I used. Let's say that market rent for an apartment is $1,500. This, again, it doesn't matter what it is, but let's use that as an example. What Henrik said is the government has come in and said the rent cap for that apartment is $500, right? So market is 15, rent cap is 500. So what happens? Well, first off, those apartments are wanted by everyone. The demand skyrockets. The supply isn't all that great, as you would guess, because market rent is 15, but the rent cap is 500. It may feel good in the beginning, right? When this first comes out, right, they'll fill up, people will be happy. But what happens as the system grinds forward year after year, decade after decade, you start to see bad behavior. First off, in Sweden, you know how long the line is to get one of those 500 unit or $500 apartments? It's 100 years. You go on a list, you put your name on the list, and given the current rate of people giving up $500 apartments with people wanting them, it takes 100 years. How stupid is that? That's not okay. In addition to that, what happens is really what we saw on Friends. If you've ever seen the TV show Friends, where Monica and Rachel were living, people just simply sublease. I don't know what it's called in Sweden, but basically they just give up, they move out, somebody else moves in, and they collect the difference. So the market wins. But what happens is the real winners are only only the people that got the $500 apartment way back at the beginning, because they never give them up. They keep them in the family. And yes, they are using the sheer luck that they got the $500 apartment as part of their income. I think $100 years to get an apartment is absurd, but that's what happens. The other thing that happens is there's a gray market, right? A gray market where you can jump the line. So there has been examples where, like, if you're going to give up an apartment, you can recommend someone. So instead of just the next person in line getting it, you can recommend someone. And there has been documented evidence of people paying upwards of 200,000 euros to jump the line. Free market wins out. Only people that win in this example, when you have a market rent of 1,500 and a rent cap of 500, is the people who get those units first. Everybody else loses. Everybody else loses. So again, you'll have a gray market, you'll sublease, people will stay forever. Lots and lots of people who got the 500 rent don't live there anymore. Their kids do, their cousins do. It's exactly what you would think happens when you become anti-profit in housing. Bad behavior happens. The free market takes over. So in the end, again, as we get through this crisis, as we look to options to ease the pain for everyone, we should look to other markets and see what has worked and what hasn't. There's very few new ideas in real estate, just like the acquisition. Lots of other countries have tried rent caps, rent control, affordable housing. The other thing that was interesting with the conversation with Henrik is, and this is something I think that is coming, is he talked about the government, whether it be the country or the city, they actually would come in and build affordable housing, and then they would keep it. They would be essentially the property managers. And I think that could happen again. I think that could happen in the US, right? If you want to come in, state of California or city of Mountain View or city of San Jose or city of Dallas, Texas, and the city wants to build affordable housing, let them. Let them be the property managers. Let them select the tenants. Let them set the rent limits. That was something that has been done in many European countries, and I think could be adopted in the United States. I'm not aware of those currently. I am certainly aware of incentives that cities and states have given and said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Developer, 10% of your units must be affordable. That happens today. But could I see a point where states or cities come in and say, hey, we're going to develop 2,000 units. We're going to build them. We're going to finance them. We're going to rent them out? Absolutely. That could certainly happen. And that has been tried in Europe. And near as we could tell, at least in my conversation with Henrik, that is working quite well. All right, if you want to build your own stuff and be the property manager of your own stuff, go for it. I think there's lots of lessons we can learn from Europe. So in the end, I appreciate if you have experience maybe in Asia or other countries and you want to reach out and talk about what's working or not working in your country, I'd love to hear from you. My experience and thus bias is very California/US. So Henrik, thank you for reaching out and sharing your experience in Finland, in Sweden, in Estonia. That was very helpful and I appreciate it. If you are watching this from any Asia country, South America, and the like, and you'd like to reach out, please do. Leave a comment below and we will find a way to connect. And I just want to wish everyone have a great day. Again, it is Sunday. It looks to be a nice day outside, so I'm going to go get some sunshine. Take care, everyone. Have fun.